Tom woke up to the sound of his alarm ringing at 7 o'clock on the dot. They had officially an hour and a half to get to church, and Tom was feeling pretty confident that he could do it. Sam was on breakfast duty, since no one else in the house could cook. So he decided to just wake up his girls so everyone could get breakfast together. Waking you up wasn't that hard. It took some coaxing to get you out of bed. It's like 3 in the morning, Tom. Let me sleep. And a bribe in the form of extra blueberries on your pancakes before you finally agreed to get up. You moved on to the bathroom after he assured you he didn't mind waking up Millie. That was the hard part. Not because she was grumpy or anything, but because she looked so peaceful that it broke his heart to bring her out of her slumber. He ended up carrying her to the kitchen, head sleepily laying on his shoulder and a pink teddy bear firmly held in her arms as she played with the hair on the back of his neck. Morning, Mills?
Morning, Uncle Sammy.
Her greeting was cut short by an adorable yawn that had Sam smiling fondly at her before setting her plate of chocolate chip pancakes next to Tom's, filled with syrup-covered ones. You walked in a couple minutes later, still in your sleepwear, and looking barely awake, which was quickly fixed by a steaming mug of coffee. You sat in front of your plate of blueberry pancakes right next to Tom and leaned over to kiss Millie's forehead, smiling softly at the image the two made, cuddled up to each other.
Well, don't you all just look like a bunch of zombies?
Harry said from his place on Tom's right side. Both you and your daughter's movements were slow and sluggish, which greatly confused Harrison.
How come Millie was a ball of energy yesterday, and today she looks like she's gonna fall asleep mid-bite?
Yeah, she alternates between being an excited puppy and a sleep-deprived snail in the mornings. You get used to it. You were becoming increasingly aware thanks to your handy-dandy cup of coffee, pancakes almost finished, and thoughts already starting to run wild. You were gonna meet Tom's parents. His parents. Today. In like an hour and a half. Oh no. By the time you were finished, Millie was back to her hyperactive self, and you started to think of what you needed to do. Okay, you showered before bed last night, so no need today. We just have to brush your teeth, hair, and get dressed. Then you can continue your drawing from last night while I go take a shower. You nodded to yourself. Okay, sounds like a plan. Let's go, soldier. 1, 2, 1, 2. You exaggeratedly marched out of the kitchen with a giggling little girl hot on your heel, while Tom smiled fondly at you. 2 seconds after you left the room, Harry started his daily teasing. Whoosh! The brunette glared at his brother before finishing his breakfast and hurrying to his room. If he got ready quick enough, he could spend some time with Millie while you were getting ready, and that was always nice. You were pretty proud of yourself, to say the least. In less than 20 minutes, Millie was dressed in an adorable little gray dress, black tights, and Mary Jane's. You had put her hair up in a way that it preserved the curls you love so much, all while keeping her hair out of her face with a sparkly hair bow. You had expected her to fuss about the outfit since it didn't have much color and she didn't get to choose it. But upon learning that Tom had chosen both their outfits for today, she smiled happily and didn't complain a single bit. So while she continued coloring the image in her new coloring book, you got ready, mind running wild. What if they think I'm a bad influence on Tom? You got out of the shower and sat in front of the small vanity in the bathroom. What if they think I don't belong here because I didn't grow up in a mob? You started your usual routine and decided to put on a bit of makeup. A small attempt at looking more put together than you actually were. What if they think I'm not pretty enough for him? You remembered how much your daughter liked seeing you with glittery makeup, so you put some glitter on your eyes to make them pop and satisfy her ever-present need for sparkle. What if they think I'm tying him down because I have a kid? You finished your makeup with a nude lipstick, ending up with natural-looking makeup, only putting a bit more effort in your eyes, and started curling your now dry hair. Calm down, we're not even together. He's just a friend, doing me a favor. Because someone threatened me and my daughter. You frowned slightly as you put on your own dress, black tights, and fastened your black booties. Technically, we're in danger because of him. Because he cares about us. You shook your head and made your way to your daughter's room, ready to leave those thoughts behind. Focus only on your daughter. He's just a friend. It meant nothing. It's not like he actually sees you that way. You just thought about being a couple last night because he was nice to your daughter. And the night before that, you were exhausted and scared, vulnerable. Therefore, it doesn't count. It's nothing. He's just a friend. He's just a friend. He's just... You took your coat and entered your daughter's room, the little girl fully engrossed in an explanation of her drawing, while Tom looked at her like she hung the moon and all the stars. Ugh, who am I trying to fool? You looked him up and down, taking in the perfectly pressed white shirt and slacks, black Oxford shoes shining in the light, and a black wool coat folded over his arm. So that's why you chose our outfits today. He turned his head towards you, momentarily distracted by how good you looked in the clothes he chose, before smiling sheepishly. It's for the aesthetic. Since when do you care about the aesthetic? But he didn't get the chance to answer before Millie was excitably clapping her hands.
Mommy, you put glitter on your eyes? It looks so pretty, right, Tommy?
He straightened up and looked at you again.
Indeed she does, Angel.
You stared at each other for a few more seconds, taking each other in until eventually you realized exactly what you were doing and cleared your throat, looking back at your daughter and telling her to put on her coat while you did the same. The ride to the church was short. After being properly praised by the boys, Millie ushered everyone out the door, not wanting to be late, and soon enough, you were in the car with your two favorite people and familiar songs playing through the speakers, all from the playlist. The playlist, my girls.
Someday my prince will come. Someday I'll find my love. And how thrilling that moment will be when the prince of my dreams comes to me.
Their somewhat off-key rendition of the song made you laugh, but you eventually joined in. You'll whisper I love you and steal a kiss or two.
Though he's far away,
I'll find my love someday.
Someday when my dreams come true.
When you got to the church, the mood had greatly improved. You were back to being comfortable around Tom, and he was back to smiling at you as if nothing happened. You were currently waiting in the parking lot for the other three to arrive, Millie holding your right hand and Tom's left, swinging them back and forth while asking various questions.
Do you think there'll be nice ladies to give me candy, Mommy?
Maybe. We'll have to see once we get inside.
Tommy, can you carry me, please?
No need to ask him twice. He picked her up with little to no effort and set her comfortably on his hip, letting her arms rest around his neck and her head on his shoulders. He came closer to you, linking your fingers together without much thought, and you rested your head on his upper arm, the opposite hand coming to cover your mouth when a yawn left your lips.
Didn't sleep well last night.
Oh no, I slept great. Just woke up way too early.
It was 7.
It was too early. He chuckled and turned his head to kiss the crown of your head, your eyes falling shut for reasons other than your tiredness. A few minutes later, Sam, Harry, and Harrison arrived, and you frowned a bit. How come you guys left before us but are only getting here now?
We stopped at a homeless shelter before coming here. I usually make a lot of homemade lasagna on Saturday afternoons, and then we drop them off at the shelter on Sunday mornings so the people there can prepare them for lunch.
Sam explained, and not for the first time, you found yourself smiling at the thoughtfulness of these guys. Mobsters with the heart of gold.
Who would have known? Come on, we have to get inside before it starts.
You let Tom pull you inside the church, your eyes scanning the place as soon as you arrived. It was a simple little place, but quite beautiful. It had stone walls and wooden ceilings that perfectly matched the 2 rows of comfortable-looking pews. The corridor separating the two rows was illuminated by a long skylight that led to a dome-shaped cluster of windows shining over the altar. A marble fountain held the holy water at the entrance, and as you looked more carefully, you noticed that the skylights were stained glass, which cast a beautiful multicolored light on the inside of the church. That made your daughter very happy, and she couldn't help but gasp at all the beautiful colors dancing together and making her coat look like a rainbow. This place is really nice. How does such a small church have enough money to afford everything? You turned towards Tom and saw him blush a little.
We made a lot of donations.
Once again, the big bad wolf acts more like an adorable puppy. Music started resonating through the church, echoing off the stone walls and reaching the small alcove where the fountain was situated. Tom quickly pulled the both of you to a bench near the front, but you didn't have time to greet the other people in it before the priest started to speak. As time went by, you noticed a few things. How invested Tom was in this. He listened to the priest, got up when told to, sat down when allowed to, sang when the music began. It was clear that he was a regular, but he did this while keeping Millie close to him. Whether that be bouncing on his knee, sitting across his lap with her head on his shoulder, or between his spread legs so she could touch the kneeler in front of you. When it was time for the sacramental bread, he had her walk in front of him so the priest could do the little prayer reserved for children too young to do the communion yet. And the man took the chance to welcome Millie into the church, which made her smile brighter than the sun. The priest welcomed you as well, and you can see that he held a special type of fondness for the Hollands and their affiliates. As you looked around the church, you saw the same fondness mirrored in other patrons' gaze. Not fear nor forced admiration, only gratefulness. It made you wonder just how much they have done for this community, but you didn't comment on it. Simply sat down on the padded bench and let Tom take your hand in his once again, resting your head on his shoulder while the line slowly reached its end. Well, aren't you the cutest little trio I've ever seen? A woman with auburn hair made her way to the three of you, a bright smile in place, and you straightened up suspiciously. The way she dressed, moved, and talked screamed class and exuded elegance.
It's for the aesthetic.
Tom responded in a mocking tone, and you felt the urge to scold him like a child for daring to taunt such a prime example of the human race. At least I know the education I gave you sticks up to a certain point.
Wait a minute. I cherish everything you taught me, Mum. You should know that by now.
Oh shit. That's his mum. Your eyes widen a fraction, but you quickly remind yourself to get your face under control because you can absolutely not afford to embarrass yourself in front of what could only be described as an angel. And who also happens to be the mother of the man you maybe kinda sorta perhaps are falling in love with.
Mum, this is Star, the girl I told you about, and her daughter Millie.
Oh, he told his mom about you. Well, that's good. Oh, finally I get to meet you too. He has not shut up about how amazing you are for months now, and I was dying to meet you. It's nice to meet you as well, Miss Holland. You tried to keep your voice steady and your back straight, though the tenseness in your muscles only served for Tom tightening his hold on your hand.
Are you one of the nice ladies that gonna give me candy 'cause I was good inside?
That's it. Your life's over. She's gonna be offended by that because she doesn't know that Mrs. Fieldman and her friends used to give Millie candy when she behaved, and she's gonna think you're a horrible mother, so she's not gonna like you, and Tom's gonna— Why, yes I am. She pulled a strawberry and cream lollipop from her Louis Vuitton bag and handed it to the little girl, who was beaming at the sugary treat.
Thank you, Tommy's mommy.
She gave the lolly to Tom and pouty lip, which prompted him to open it, unfortunately having to let go of your hand for that, while she turned back to his mother, one hand behind his neck to support herself better.
You don't look like the ladies that give me candy at the other church.
Really? And what is that?
Well, they were old and you're just pretty.
Okay, so maybe not all is lost. She'll just like Millie more than you. You can live with that. She laughed at that and turned towards you. You raised her well, Star. If only my boys were this nice to me. A choking sound left Tom's lips. What? I'm nice to you. Oh, please. You use me for food. Ignore my no swearing rule. That sounds more like an attempt at a miracle at this point. And force me to listen to work talk on a Sunday. You're a menace, Thomas. How he managed to have 3 women giving him the disappointed mum look before the clock even hits 11 is beyond him. But with a scowling Millie in his arms, his mum rattling off his bad qualities in front of him, and you glaring at him from the right, he was feeling quite scared for once.
Tommy, those are big no-nos.
He turned towards Millie and gulped. An angry or sad Millie is the opposite of what he's striving for. He wants happy Millie, excited Millie. He'll even take sleepy Millie. But an angry or sad Millie is out of the question. Well, we're making you a jar once we get home. Your voice sounded, and suddenly he was in the middle of a mother-daughter plotting scene. What are we thinking? No work talk?
No swearing.
No swearing. What else do they do that should not be done at a civilized meal? She turned towards his mum, and suddenly all 3 of them were talking. Well, for one, picking up calls, answering texts, just overall being on their phones. They have poor table manners, I blame their father for this, and arguing. Lots and lots of arguing. The girls looked appalled by this, and he saw you pull your phone out of your coat pocket and open a new page in your notes app. You named it No-No Jar and started writing down all the previously mentioned actions, turning it to his mum so she could see, and then nodding once you were satisfied with the length of it. Okay, we're going home. But we still have to get in the car, Thomas. Yes, Mom. So you all got in the car, Nikki included, and he drove to the house while the others picked up lunch, discussions of the jar appearance filling the car. Well, I think we either keep the blue and red aesthetic you had going on for the first jar, or we choose something completely different. That way the more jars he has, the more colorful his house gets.
Like a rainbow?
Exactly like a rainbow.
Okay, we're doing other colors.
In the end, she decided on green and purple and went on to teach the one and only Nikki Holland how to properly make the glittery, overly decorated, and definitely overkill no-no jar. The little brunette set the jar down in the middle of the table and clapped her hands to get everyone's attention. Dom looked quite amused, clearly not having spent enough time in Millie's company to be used to her, business stare, but looked at her all the same.
Okay, this is the no-no jar. Whenever you do a no-no thing, you have to put 5 pounds in, and if you say 5 no-no things, you don't get any dessert.
Mills, what's a no-no thing? She smiled at the blonde and turned to you.
Mommy?
You turned the jar and read the label out loud. Swearing, talking about work, being on phones or other mobile devices, arguing, and poor table manners. Harry furrowed his brows. Since when do we have poor table manners? You talk with your mouth full, kick your brother under the table just 'cause you feel like it, and chew with your mouth open. Nikki answered, one brow raised as if daring him to deny it, and he huffed. Good. Now that that's settled, let's eat. The meal went by surprisingly good. The boys didn't want to upset Millie, so they behaved, and Nikki was very pleased with it. Dom thought the whole thing was ridiculous and tried to act as he usually does, but Millie hit him with the double combo of disappointed mom look and sad puppy dog eyes, and he caved in right away. That, combined with the fact that she laughed at every single one of his jokes, made him take a liking to her, and by the time dessert came, she was sitting on his lap at the head of the table while he taught her how to always win at tic-tac-toe. At the opposite end of the table, Tom watched you and his mom interact. You and Nikki were sitting side by side and deeply engrossed in your little argument about some book that he recognized after a while as The Bald Soprano by UNESCO. Well, since it's set in the post-World War II era, it's obviously a way of displaying how absurd humanity really is. I mean, what with the Holocaust and German troops being practically brainwashed, who wouldn't think the world was crazy? You argued, and Nikki nodded in agreement. And the speech, too. I read somewhere that it was inspired by English textbooks they had in France, and that he was so shocked by the absurdity of it that he decided to base the lines on it to show how humans are unable to communicate properly. He furrowed his eyebrows. He never knew his mom liked reading so much. Maybe he was a little too focused on work and sports that he didn't take the time to spend much time with his mother. That would have to change. Okay, who's on cleanup duty? Not it! Patty immediately screamed and ran out of the room, Millie following after him so they could play.
I have to make sure they don't get hurt.
It was a terrible excuse, and even Dom knew it. But he walked out all the same and joined the two youngsters in the backyard where they were already jumping on the trampoline. Patty did a backflip and Millie clapped happily, asking him to teach her tricks too. Sam simply sat there and admired the fight. He made dessert, and the rules are, if you cook, you don't clean, so he was safe. Harry and Haz looked at each other before hightailing it out of the room, which left Tom, Nikki, and you as the last one standing. I don't mind cleaning up. He shrugged nonchalantly, and Nikki nodded. You boys choose a game everyone can play, and we'll join you in a bit. They both rose from their seats, and you gave Tom a reassuring smile before he left the room. Cleanup was easy. You washed while Nikki dried and put them away, still maintaining your conversation about Ionesco's brilliancy. Thank you. The words caught you by surprise, and you stopped scrubbing with a confused look on your face. What for? For being here. I've never seen Tom so happy and carefree. You and Millie are good for him. She took a deep breath before continuing. I was born into this, but back then we weren't nearly as powerful. My father made a deal with Dominic's. As soon as I turned 18, we would marry and unite both mobs, so we could reach the status we have today. Even though I eventually did fall in love with my husband, it took years of anger and hatred before that happened. I didn't want the same to happen to my darling boys, but I was getting worried we made the wrong choice. He was always so buried in his work, became ruthless the more time passed. There were days I thought he wasn't even human anymore. But then you girls came along and it was like my boy was brought back. You made him happy again. You gave him love when I didn't know how to anymore. And I wanted to thank you for that. Both of you had shining eyes when she ended her speech, and you were bold enough to pull her into a hug, relaxing once she reciprocated just as eagerly. Thank you for raising the amazing person he is, Mrs. Holland. Oh, please, call me Nikki. Okay, I have your number. As soon as I know when they'll play Ionesco again, I'll text you and we'll go together. You nodded and hugged her goodbye.
Bye, Nana.
You couldn't help but smile when Millie gave her a tight hug. Halfway through Pictionary, she got mad when she couldn't find a good nickname for Nikki and Dom, so they'd insisted she call them Nana and Grandpa, and she immediately took to it. You thought Tom would be freaked out by it, but like when she started calling the boys uncle, his smile just seemed to grow even more. You be good, darling. I'll pick you up Wednesday after lunch for our photo shoot, okay?
Okay.
Bye, Pumpkin. I'll see you on Wednesday.
Bye, Grandpa.
Patty came over and ruffled her hair. Surprisingly, they got along quite well. Patty was happy to have someone to take care of instead of being the one taken care of, and Millie thought he was the coolest person ever because he could do backflips and cartwheels. Unsurprisingly, Harry was pissed.
I can do a backflip too.
He was currently holding an ice pack to his injured shoulder. Tessa rubbed against your leg, and you knelt on the ground to pet her. The house suddenly quieter after the three had left. Well, it's almost 7. What do we do now? Tom pursed his lips before answering.
Dinner and a movie?
Harrison nodded and made his way to the kitchen, until Sam saw what he was doing.
Get away from my kitchen, you menace!
What story do you want today?
The rainbow fish.
She proclaimed excitedly, and Tom chuckled.
Okay, the rainbow fish it is.
He opened the book and started to read, immersing the room in a story about a fish who learned that materialistic things were nothing compared to friendship and love. Just like the night before, you ran your hands through your daughter's hair, watching her eyes droop, and her hold on her pink teddy bear tightened periodically, heart bursting with warmth at the new routine that seemed to have taken place. When the story ended, you and Tom both gave her a kiss goodnight before leaving the room and silently closing the door behind you.
Thank you for today.
Why does everyone feel the need to shower you with gratefulness today? I should be the one thanking you. He shook his head and tightened his hold on your hand. It had become such a common occurrence, you didn't even notice he had taken it at all.
My parents loved you and Millie, and we've never had such a nice family Sunday. You're a godsend, Starlight.
There it was again. Why do you call me that?
Call you what?
Starlight. He moved his hands so your fingers were intertwined and pulled you closer until his forehead rested on yours.
'Cause you brighten up my life, like the stars shining in the night, guiding me home so I don't get lost in the bullshit that is my job.
Your eyes never left his, and you blushed a bright scarlet at his words. You're so cheesy, you know that? He laughed softly, but didn't respond, only leaning in, getting closer by the second, until his lips touched the corner of your mouth in a soft, lingering kiss.
Good night, Starlight.
Sweet dreams, Tommy. And sweet they were. Please hold for baby bloops. Action!
Mommy, you put glitter on your eyes? It's so beautiful. Mommy, you put glitter on your eyes? It looks so beautiful. Go. Go, Tamba. Go, Tommy. Go, Tommy. Go, Tommy. Go, Tommy. Go, Tommy. Go, Tommy. Go, Tommy.
Go, Tommy. Go, Tommy. Go, Tommy. Go, Tommy.
Go. Wet Tommy. Wet Tommy. Wet Tommy. Do you think there's gonna be nice people to give me presents and candy?
Mommy?
Mommy? Today, I'm going to a ballroom and with my family. And with my friend, my cousin Rowie. My whole family.
Your whole family?
Yep.
You got a party?
Yep. It's my birthday today.
How old are you turning?
6.
6 years old?
Yep.
Oh my gosh! What are you hoping?
But my birthday's is near Christmas.
Your birthday's near Christmas. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a winter ball.
Yeah.
With
Wait.
snow.
But it's not gonna be a ball.
It's a party?
Yeah.
Is it a dance?
Yeah.
Pull up that shirt. Pull up that shirt.